Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Day 66 first episode of Splatter Chatter. I'm Liam. You guys may remember me from doing lots of the content creation and lots of the behind the scenes stuff. And as always, Mr. Day 66 himself, Mr. Russ Tribe. Good evening, Russ.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks very much for joining us for the first episode of Splatter Chatter. It's good to have you along here. Please bear with us tonight. It's a bit of an experiment, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be ranking zombie films tonight. There'll be plenty of zombie films that we've admitted that you'll feel quite passionate about. So if we've excluded any of your favourites, please do comment in the live chat, and what we'll do is we'll save those up. And we'll try and feature those in a future episode, along with things like a slasher horror special and things like that. If you've got any ideas, any particular types of horror film you'd like us to cover in future episodes, just leave us a note in the chat.
How many different other kinds of horror films are there? You got slashers, I suppose you got psychological horror, I guess? Demon-y stuff like Exorcist?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, supernatural,
Conjuring,
perhaps sci-fi type, alien type films. I mean, you could break the genre down into quite a few different sort of sub-genres, I suppose, if you wanted to.
I mean, I'm assuming, obviously, being the mastermind behind the whole Day 66 sort of stuff, zombie films would be your horror film of choice, really. Would it? Would it be safe to say that, or is it just there's just something about zombies that really?
It's weird. I mean, I'm not like a massive, believe it or not, I'm not a massive zombie fan. Like I wouldn't say it's my favourite type of horror film by any stretch. But I wanted to make a horror film, and I just had a good idea in my head for a zombie film. So that's kind of why I went in that direction. A couple of zombie films that are out there are among my best films of all time anyway. But there's plenty of other horrors in that list, and they outnumber zombie films by far. So I suppose thinking of other sort of subgenres, you got your vampire films, haven't you?
Of course,
I'm not massively into vampires personally.
I don't think I've seen that many, certainly because vampires certainly get parodied quite a lot, or they get taken into a weird subculture now, because it's like with the Twilight films, for example. I mean, I wouldn't call that a horror film, but it's vampire-based. Yeah,
you do get a fair amount of zombie parodies, don't you, these days? You got your werewolf films as well. I'm probably less familiar with those. I don't think that's a subgenre that particularly does get parodied much. Can you actually think of any werewolf parody films? I'm sure there are some out there.
Not werewolf parody films per se. I mean, obviously you got the American Werewolf in London and Paris, and what's the Pathé one? The Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some tongue-in-cheek ones, haven't you? But I'm thinking like a sort of a scary movie type, spoof type level of thing. I can't think of any werewolf films along that kind of line. One werewolf film that I'm quite partial to actually is it's just called Wolf with Jack Nicholson. I don't know if you've seen that one at all.
No, I haven't.
I think it's around 1990. It's probably quite a little-known film, really. It's not one of Jack Nicholson's better-known films. I think Michelle Pfeiffer's in it, and I'm sure that last time I watched it, I actually spotted a David Schwimmer cameo. Really? Ross from Friends. I think from memory, I think he played a policeman in Central Park Zoo or something like that. It was just really random seeing him.
When you say Ross from Friends, my first instinct was the giraffe from Madagascar. that was my first instance. So,
yeah. The first thing I think of whenever anyone mentions Ross from Friends, of course, is that my sandwich.
You're talking to someone here. Again, this is going to turn into a hot take. I'm not a fan of Friends at all. I don't find it funny at all. But I said, this kind of leads me into the next bit. So basically, to fill everyone in who's joined, is we're basically going to be doing a tier list. We're going to be ranking the zombie films. Now, the disclaimer is this is kind of me and Russ are going to debate it out. There's some I've seen or I don't like, but Russ will like, and that's basically what it is. So, if we do put your favourite film as a D rank, then I'll apologise, but I suppose this is our opinion. I mean, that's kind of the only real disclaimer I want to have. Is it's just a bit of fun at the end of the day. We're not saying we hate these films and they should be burned in the fires of brimstone, but we don't. This is just basically what we can do. I mean, Russ is, as many of you probably already know, is a film nut. He's an absolute film nut. He watches a lot of movies and therefore can draw lots of comparisons. I, however, am not so much, but there's lots I have seen. So, I mean, basically, it was the format is these are sort of, what was it, 20 of them? I asked you, Russ. Give me 20, and I threw some curveballs in for you just to give you a bit of variety.
Yeah, indeed. We've got a little bit of repetition. We've got a couple of zombie films that have their remakes featuring in the list as well. And I was kind of tempted to not include the remakes, but I think the ones we've included are kind of worthy of their own sort of admission, if you like.
It's kind of for comparisons. So,
Indeed.
But before we get on with the tier list, for those of you who haven't seen the trailer, we were just going to quickly embed it in just now. So if you just
why not? Let's get a little bit of plugging in there.
Would you want to do this like a direct?
66.
Do you want to do a director's commentary on this? Because when I hit,
I could do, couldn't I?
Yeah, I've just thought about the delay though. Actually, for you, it'd be fine for me.
Ooh. Yeah, actually, if I do a commentary and there's a delay, it's going to seem really silly.
But either way, I'm just going to hit the trailer now for you guys to enjoy.
In a statement today, the staff at Sanford General have told us that people have been presenting with a number of symptoms, vomiting and flu-like symptoms, the most prevalent amongst those. In the statement, they go on to say that the majority are children who are...
And we're back, and yes, that will be the trailer that we popped out there. Thanks to everyone who has actually seen it already, and I suppose we're kind of plugging it just that one extra time. But without further ado, here is the tier list. So, Sir Russell, I would like to begin.
I think we better explain the tier list for people, mate.
I think we already did that, but okay, we'll do it again.
I missed that.
So basically, we've got 26 zombie films here, and we're going to be ranking them well, not necessarily ranking them in a direct order. We've got 5 tiers here. It's kind of like the Capcom Games tier. We've got A, B, C, D, but for the top tier, we've got S tier. So S tier is your creme de la creme, basically. It's like your absolute. This is what a zombie film should be, and hopefully we meet your expectations and make Day 66 the same. So I was actually basically going to start the benchmark off with kind of what lots of people would say was what started it all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Russ, where would you see this in these rankings, sir?
Well, I think it's important to note that Dawn of the Dead, of course, is the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. So I'd argue that Night of the Living Dead's the one that started it all.
Oh, apologies. Do you want me to do Night of the Living Dead first?
I don't mind. Whatever you prefer.
Okay, all right. Let's roll that back then, because you're spotting the person hasn't done their prep. We're going to start with Night of the Living Dead by George Romero. So this is where
you're just trying to catch me off guard.
Oh yeah. That was totally a test. Yeah.
Well, Night of the Living Dead, so that is late 60s. I'm tempted to say 68. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Black and white. I watched it recently with my 8-year-old son. and he thoroughly enjoyed it. I forgot how decent it was. I kind of had it in my head it was a little bit sort of boring, and that Dawn of the Dead was the one where they sort of brought their A game. But actually, Night of the Living Dead, I have to say, it is brilliant. It's clearly made on a low budget.
Okay.
But I was really impressed with what they managed to do. Maybe it's Day 66. It's given me more of an appreciation of sort of,
So
what you can achieve on a low budget.
So we've got 26 of these to go through. What rank would you put this at?
I'm going to say let's go mid-tier at the moment.
So we go for a B.
Yeah, let's go for a B, mate.
We'll go for
mid-tier.
a B. So
and we can argue the toss, can't we?
We can do. I mean, that's just it, guys. I mean, if Night of the Living Dead is one of your favourite films, and you think this is a bit low, this is the beauty of why we're doing this as a live stream. We've got interactive chat. Please air your grievances. I mean, that's kind of what we want to get out of this. So, okay, so first one on the board, Night of the Living Dead original is at B tier. So I obviously have not done my history of this. So we're going to go to the Dawn. So Dawn of the Dead was the sequel to Night of the Living Dead, yes?
Correct.
And we're talking about the original one. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I've seen this a very, very long time ago. I don't think I've got any particular input on this one, but I would say, where would you see this in comparison to Night of the Living Dead? Because I suppose we put Night of the Living Dead down as kind of the benchmark one.
So personally, I would say Dawn of the Dead is superior in every way. It's now in colour. Yes, the special effects have aged a little bit, but they're still pretty gruesome. For me, I think it's the first zombie film I ever saw. I was 10 years old. It's stuck with me ever since. I'm sticking this one right up into top tier, mate.
You're going top tier with Dawn of the Dead. Tier. Original Dawn of the Dead is going in at top tier.
It is an absolute classic. I'm quite passionate about that one.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I mean, I'm keen to kind of mix it up a little bit here. I'm very, very keen to mix it up a little bit. So here is basically a curveball. We're going to go straight in there. It's a British film, 28 Days Later. The first film I ever saw with running zombies. And I think, personally speaking, gave birth to the Left 4 Dead game series. Because for the first time, we saw sprinting zombies. Now, I know where I would put 28 Days Later. If this list was solely down to me, I'd go either top tier or certainly a high A. So, but I think S tier is there something really special about S tier films, and I'd be inclined to give it an A. How would you rebuke that, or would you say maybe it belongs S tier, or hell no, it's not better than Night of the Living Dead, it should be lower than a B? What's your thoughts?
So, I'm like you. I'm between S and A personally. There's a lot of I don't really like running zombies, but and we can debate this all day long whether this is actually a zombie film or not. Let's just say it is.
It's an infection that goes from person to person, turns them into a supernatural being. It's a zombie film. I know.
I'm happy to go along with that. Absolutely.
We could argue the toss. I mean, there's a little disclaimer here. In this list, we do not have I Am Legend. Arguably speaking, are they zombies? We didn't want to get in that argument tonight. So
no.
So 20. So yeah. So A rank 28 Days Later. Interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's stick it there for now. I think that's a good place to start off.
Okay. Do you want to go contentious, or do you want to just stick? Or do you want to get some on the board first, which are basically kind
Let's just get some more on the board. I don't mind. Just hit me. What we got next?
Okay. Well, here's a film which I quite like, and again, one of our extras was in this film. Starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, is Shaun of the Dead. Now, Shaun of the Dead, personally speaking, I'd go at A tier because it's funny. It actually made zombies funny, but there was I felt a lot of influence drawn from the classic zombie films here. Personally speaking, again, if this was down to me, I would go A tier. But what are your thoughts on this?
So, I really like this film. I've got to say, I think it's a good horror in its own right, regardless of the fact it's got comedy in it as well. Mm-hmm. The fact it's comedy as well is an added bonus. It's the whole package. It's very, very clever, very well written, and the gore factor is good as well. I've got to say, let's stick it in S for Sean.
S for Shaun. It's top
I
tier
think so.
for Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's
mate.
it's higher than I'd go, but I mean, okay, no, I accept your, because I think it's tried to do something different. I think.
Yeah,
I certainly
mate,
think
yeah.
that it's certainly.
Absolutely, it's inventive as well. I mean, cricket bat, LPs, all that. You know, come on.
I mean, that was funny. It was, there's certain lines in it as well which are just magnificent. So
And I can't help but think Nick Frost is still playing computer games in that shed somewhere.
I'm sure he has. I am absolutely sure he has. Okay, well, the thing was, what I like to do is, we're gonna kind of bookend this a bit. Now, I'm gonna throw one in there which I think is a cert, which is a D tier, because I think this is trash, and that is Flight of the Living Dead. Now,
Ooh.
I would like now. My inclination is I would put Flight of the Living Dead smack bang in the cellar dwelling bottom tier. It is terrible. This film, it was just terrible. Could you make a case for Flight of the Living Dead to ascend any of these ranks?
No, because I ain't seen it, but it sounds crap. So
it's zombies on a plane.
Sadly, the list doesn't go down to F.
Yeah, we didn't actually add any more than F, so we stuck with the
yeah.
So
it sounds appalling. What is that even on?
What is it even on? What do you mean? Was it even on?
Like, is it available to stream somewhere? Can I check it out after this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've actually got it on DVD somewhere. It was one of those ones that I think someone got me a present, but they might have found it in one of those little bins at the front of One Stop.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of one of those. Or maybe I bought it myself. It was probably like 50p or something like that. And I thought
we will pay you to take this DVD out our shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it certainly was. It was. I mean, I thought I'm keen to bookend stuff, and I thought I needed something in there which is absolutely, in my opinion, terrible.
Well, I've got to say, being a bit of a film buff, I will watch a film even if I'm told it's terrible, just so that I can say I've seen it and I can then give an opinion on it. So I assure you, Flight of the Living Dead, yeah?
Yep.
I will stick that on my to watch list, and I will stick a review on the Twitter in the near future.
Cool. Guys, anyone in the live chat or anyone watching this, have you seen Flight of the Living Dead? Is it as terrible as I'm making out? We'd love to hear from you, but we'll move on. I'm going to move on to one I have not actually seen all the way through. So, Russ, this is all on you. It's kind of an old one. Reanimator. Oh,
wow. Yeah, so, do you know what? I haven't seen any of the sequels. I gather there's quite a few sequels to this. In sort of typical classic horror fashion, no TV channels want to really show them. So I think your only sort of way of seeing these types of films is to rent them. I gather there's a new streaming service called Shudder. You might be able to see some classics like that on Shudder. I don't know. Okay. Let us know in the chat. Reanimator, I've got good memories of this film. It's been a while, but I think from memory, I think the special effects were really good, and it was quite funny as well.
All I remember is there's a guy walking around with no head. That's literally all I remember from that film. I do not remember anything else from it.
I think I'm going to struggle to justify it in the S&As. I think it's probably sort of between a B and a C, but I'd stick it in the Bs personally.
Go in a B.
I've got good memories of it.
Okay, that's cool. So now I think should we go one that splits you in my opinion? I know of one which is going to split you and me smack down the middle. Do you want to do that, or we'll save it for later?
You're going to choose World War Z, aren't you?
You know exactly. I was going to go straight for World War Z. Right. Make your case for World War Z, because I'm telling you where I'd put it. I'd slap it straight back in D. But you would vehemently disagree, wouldn't you?
It's weird.
Good evening, Tina. How are you?
I can't even really explain it. I've already told you I don't really like running zombies. Well, this has got running. Maybe it's just the fact that Brad Pitt agreed to do a zombie film, and I thought, bloody hell. Maybe it's just the fact that everything production-wise was going against this film, and when I watched it, I was just really entertained.
So your hype for World War Z, or Z, or if I would be very British, is the fact that Brad Pitt is in it.
Well,
you got to make more of a case than that, mate. You got to make more of a case.
It entertained me. What can I say? I thought it was thrilling, thoroughly entertaining. I watched it again recently with my nipper. He thought it was the best thing ever.
He
Struggled to
injects
get to sleep
himself
that
with
night, bless him.
polio or whatever it was, and they're like, zombies like, oh, I don't want to eat you now. But the zombies will basically kamikaze themselves off walls. I mean, yes, I know zombie films are not there for realism, but I just thought it was terrible. And the fact
This is
that
it. When you
allegedly
start
went to
saying, "Oh,
Cardiff,
that bit's unrealistic," but
I
you're
know.
talking about a zombie film,
I know.
I just can't.
I just found it a little bit all steak and no sizzle. That was my personal opinion of it.
Should we stick it in the middle then? Happy medium.
Happy medium. You'd go an S rank, would you?
Well,
If it was down to you, would you give it an S rank?
I'd probably give it a high A personally, but let's
High
go
A.
with a B, just to keep you happy.
All right. Okay. World War.
I'll say
World
keep
War
you
Z.
happy. D, keep you happy. But is it as bad as Flight of the Living Dead? Really?
No. So I mean, I suppose the fairness is I'd give it a C. You'd give it an A. Fair enough. We'll go B. We will go B. Okay. Fine. Well, let's go for something which I really like, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it because, personally speaking, I'm a big fan of it as a different franchise. It's the Resident Evil film.
Oh, okay.
Down to me.
We're talking the first one now.
You were talking the first Resident Evil film, the one with Michelle Rodriguez in it, and Colin Salmon with the laser grid.
Colin Salmon.
I mean, personally speaking, again, if it's down to me, I'd slap it straight into A, because I think while it wasn't stick exactly the same as the actual games themselves, I mean, Mia Jovovich's character is completely fictitious in the game, so I'm not going to be one of those hardcore I love Resident Evil the game sort of thing. Wait, she wasn't in the film, I hate it. I actually liked it as, on its own merits as a film, and to be honest, the storyline which begets the whole Resident Evil franchise, I think is very good, and I think this translates into the film quite well. Personally speaking, I would go A, but what are your thoughts on it?
Wow, she is gorgeous, isn't she, bless her? But the film as a whole, it was entertaining. I think there was a decent Slipknot track in there somewhere from memory.
Hi, Jim.
I don't have an appreciation of games, and my understanding and knowledge of that sort of thing is very poor. I don't think I ever really played them. So I have to take, coming in without any knowledge of them. I was perhaps a little bit confused.
We're doing this on the merits of the film. I mean, my perspective is skewed because I like the games.
Yeah,
So.
it's not terrible. I would argue all the sequels are equally terrible, but this one, it's got some positives to it. I'd probably stick it in a C level.
You stick it as a C, so the compromise would be for a B. I'd go A, you go C, so we're going to compromise. We're going to go Resident Evil, is ranked as a B. I at this sort of juncture while we've got this pause between it. Good evening, Tina. Good evening, Jim. How are we? Thank you for coming along. But I mean, Jim said he'd go for a B for Resident Evil as well. But he's also, I'm just going back to the chat here. I mean, so Jim said World War Z, the novel written by Max Brooks, son of Mel Brooks. He preferred the novel but not enjoyed the film. Interesting.
I think he said, but he enjoyed the film.
Was that preferred the novel? Oh, it says not, but I just assumed it meant not. But it might be but. So yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not.
On that note, he's actually made mention a few comments back about Brain Dead. Possibly we should maybe consider doing that as the next one.
Would you like to do Brain Dead? Right. Well, we have Brain Dead.
We should.
Well, we have Brain Dead. This was, I believe, this was Peter Jackson, wasn't it?
Yes. So Peter Jackson, whenever anyone says Peter Jackson, most people will think Lord of the Rings. I think of bad taste, him stuffing his brain back into his head. I don't know if you've seen that.
Now you're going to have to help me with this one because I get muddled up between Brain Dead and Bad Taste. Is this the one? Is this the one with the old people and they're eating that custard and the old woman's ear falls in?
That's Bad Taste.
That's Bad Taste. Right. That's the only film. I'm pretty sort of battle hardened when it comes to horror films. I was actually eating at the time. I nearly vomited my own dinner when I saw that bit.
Bad Taste is another classic example of what you can do on a low budget. It is brilliant.
But it's not strictly a zombie film.
I watched it again recently, and I don't think it's dated that well, but it's still one you've got to see. Brain Dead. Again,
is this the one with the lawnmower?
I haven't seen in years, but is it the one at the end with the lawnmower?
Yeah, this is the lawnmower one, isn't it?
I think it is lawnmower at the end.
I mean,
and I think they're eating a meal round the table, and I think someone's ear falls off in their soup.
Didn't I just say that?
Oh, apologies. Yeah, you might.
I literally just said that.
Oh, I thought you were saying about you were eating.
I was eating. I was eating whilst watching this film, and the old person's ear fell in the soup, and all this pus went in the soup, and I was like, nope.
Ah, right. Sorry.
That's literally what I just
because
said.
in bad taste, there's some sort of there's something very similar in bad taste.
Right. Brain Dead is the one with the uncle and the lawnmower. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So with that in mind, again, it's a beautiful cornucopia of disgustingness. I personally would go A.
Yeah.
Would you go A?
I don't like shoving them all in the midsection, but
I was entertained by it to the point that this is the one film that made me ill. That doesn't happen often.
In which case, it's got to be an A then, isn't it? If it's made you feel ill, it has kind of succeeded, isn't it?
Okay, guys. I mean, because Jim, you've Slippery Jim in the chat, you've mentioned it's quite a lot. What would you go? He's gone A. So what were you? We have a consensus.
Yeah, let's do it.
We do have a consensus. Fantastic. Okay. I'm humour and for Harry. Good evening. How are we, sir? Thank you for joining, Harry. Great to see you.
Good evening, Harry. Cheers. Thank you.
So let's go. So with Shaun of the Dead in mind, humour was clearly up there in certainly you're thinking of this next one, which is of course Zombieland. Personally speaking, again, I love this film. I mean, I personally would be floating between an S and an A. I'd go A because of what it was, but the Bill Murray bit, Bill Murray makes it an S for me. And I don't know if it's just my...
Personally for me, I think they're both 4 out of 5 films, but I've got to pick a favourite, so I'm gonna say let's stick that one in S.
S rank for Zombieland.
Yeah,
Jim's gone S rank as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. It's a funny one.
I'm absolutely amazed. So if we have an S rank, I'm going to pull one out which I believe is a dud.
And can I just say at this point, look at our S rank. Look at our S rank. What have we got there?
We've got Original Dawn of the Dead.
One straight out horror, and we've got 2 comedy horrors.
What does that say about zombies? What does it say about our perception of zombies?
It's interesting, that, isn't it?
Well, I've said for everything, this is yin and yang now. For everything I think is outstanding, there has to be one which I got given on DVD as a present. I don't know if it was a joke present. It's about zombies.
Oh, no.
I watched it actually with your brother.
It's not the one with Jenna Jameson, is it?
It is exactly one with Jenna Jameson. This is Zombie Strippers. This is terrible. This gave me a migraine. This film is so bad. Now you'd think
it gave you a migraine.
As a single adolescent when I watched it, I was probably a bit older than that though. That I'd probably enjoy. I mean, I suppose it's a bit weird that I said I just watched it with your brother, but that's actually a true story. I actually turned it off because it gave me a migraine. I thought it was terrible. The storyline was awful, and it was just trash. Could you make a case for Zombie Strippers to be anything other than a D?
I'll tell you what, there's plenty better Jenna Jameson films out there.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's for a different tier list, I'm guessing. So yeah, I don't think we can really say more than that.
No, to be fair, I think it's embarrassing to Flight of the Living Dead having to share the same line with that film.
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking. The D ranks are going to be shocking. Absolutely shocking.
It is awful.
I'm going to pass over to kind of your experience on this one because I haven't seen the next film. So, as Jim says, you should try Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town. It's a real movie, honest. That just sounds awful.
It's not Jenna Jameson again, is it?
It is Jenna Jameson in that film because Jenna Jameson isn't enough to even see that film, just to see how comically bad Zombie Strippers is. I don't think I can emphasise how terrible it is, but I were going to go for a film I have not seen. So Russ, this is 100% on you. It's a Korean film, and this is Train to Busan.
Well,
can you state a case for this?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm surprised you haven't seen it because you like your foreign films, don't you? And
yeah.
Train to Busan is just it's just so entertaining. It's really, really good.
Okay.
It's not without its faults.
Is it zombies on a train in Korea?
Well, yeah. It's brilliant. It's really well done. Like I say, it's not without its faults. I would stick it in an A personally. I think it's a really good film. I haven't seen the animation. I think, is it a prequel or a sequel? The animation, I can't remember. There's actually a live action sequel now as well. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
Peninsula, is it, or is that the animation? let me know in the chat if you know. But yeah, it's got to be an A for me, that one.
It's definitely one of those films I've heard a lot about. I've heard a lot of good things about it as well. I've just never got around to seeing it. So, okay, so now I threw a couple of curveballs in for you because I know what I think of it, and that is, and the thing was, I actually brought this in because originally tonight we were going to be joined by Matty. Unfortunately, Matty's not particularly well at the moment, so I actually threw these in just because I know Matt and I have certainly seen these films together, and I don't want you thinking that I'm absolutely hammering on Resident Evil here, but I threw in Resident Evil Extinction, which is the third film where they're in the desert. I personally, I know you thought it was, you said it was rubbish. I thought it was as good as the first one. I thought the first 3 Resident Evil films were good. So I personally would go B rank with it, but again, I'm keen to hear your thoughts, Ross.
Yeah, Matt, if you're listening, mate, I hope you get well soon. But I've got to say, your film choice is shocking, mate.
Okay.
This is bad. I would agree with you in as much as if I had to pick a favourite out of all the Dyer sequels, I'd probably pick this one as my favourite out of all the Dyer sequels. Mm-hmm. Let's go Happy Compromise plus. That C row is looking rather empty, so
Resident Evil
I think we should stick it down there on the C line, mate.
Well, this is how compromise works, isn't it? So, okay, well, here's another one I have seen. I didn't think it was very good, but I have a horrible feeling you like this one. It's Quentin Tarantino. It's Planet Terror. Personally speaking, I'd put that straight back in. I'd put that straight in a C. But could you argue it? What case would you argue for knocking up Planet Terror? Or do you think it is rubbish with Rose McGowan and her gun leg? Okay, so
as you may know, it was supposed to be part of Grindhouse, a double bill with Death Proof. Death Proof being Tarantino's film. This one was actually Robert Rodriguez. It had its moments, but yeah, I think C is probably the best place for it, to be honest. I preferred Death Proof to Planet Terror.
And that's saying something, because Death Proof was rubbish as well. So.
Well, that's not a zombie film, so we don't have to argue that one right now.
I know, but my personal opinion is Death Proof is rubbish. So. And Planet Terror was actually...
Obviously it's wrong, but yeah. we need to progress.
It's wrong.
The first 15 minutes, I would agree, are rubbish because it's just a bunch of girls talking in the car.
Yeah, what are we talking about? Death Proof? Or are we talking about Planet
Terror? Death Proof, that is. But anyway, we're not debating that.
We're not here to debate
Terror.
So
I did like the machine gun leg, as you can see there on the poster. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think conceptually it was clever, but it just didn't entertain me.
It's as if they came up with this idea of a lady that has a machine gun for a leg and tried to build a film around it.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't do that.
Okay. Good evening, Megan. Thank you for joining. Jim thinks Planet Terror says Planet Terror is good, and it's a great film. I'm like, again, we
still love you, mate. We still love you. Thanks for coming along.
Well, you ready for a bit more contention? The Sarah Polley starring remake of the 2003 version of Dawn of the Dead. I really liked this film. I thought this film was actually quite good. I personally would slap it into A. Russ, are you going to talk me down or talk me up?
I'm going to talk you down, but not much, mate. Where were you sticking it, sorry?
I personally was going to go A. I really enjoyed it.
Okay,
sorry.
I could settle with an A. I think it's a B, but I'm happy to compromise with an A. It was entertaining. For me, it's not as good as the original.
No.
Again, it's got running zombies. I'm not a massive fan of them. But as Zack Snyder films go, it was a pretty good one. What I particularly like about this film is the giving birth to a zombie baby.
That was sick, but yes,
I thought that was pretty awesome.
It was deliciously sick. That I wanted to. I was entertained by it the whole time. I thought it was. As Zombies in the Mall go, I thought, even if it is, I'm not a huge fan of remakes, but I thought this was quite good. I mean, again,
I've got to say though, I think it would be a better film if at the end, they didn't do the bit where the yacht docks on the island or whatever, and pretty much, well, it's spoiler essential, really, isn't it? Can we just assume everyone's seen it?
We'll just assume everyone's seen it, and just
we'll
say
assume
you
everyone's
didn't
seen it.
like
If you haven't seen it, put your ears into switch off mode now.
Well, just don't say anything about it. Just say you didn't like it.
Well, I didn't like that bit because it kind of ruined everything that came before it, and that was right at the end. In fact, the film had pretty much ended, and then they showed you that, and it was like, so I've been rooting for all these people, and then there was no point. I'm
kind of feeling that we just talked it down to a B just then.
But do you know what I mean, though?
I think I'd actually forgotten about that bit, and I'm thinking now that sucks. That was stupid.
It was like a great film, and then that happened, and I was like,
yeah, we beat it. We beat it. You've successfully changed my mind from an A rank. Clearly nostalgia took control of me. I remember it being but you just mentioned a bit that did annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And that goes slap down. I'm just basically slapping it down a bit.
You need to leave a film with on a positive note, and that just pissed me off.
Okay. Well, I think sticking with those, the next one I'm selecting was one I didn't like, and that's Land of the Dead.
Really? You didn't like it?
They use guns. They use pneumatic drills. The whole thing with flipping
Well,
from the mentalist
with clever in the
dead
third one,
reckoning.
weren't they? Day of the Dead.
But Land of the Dead was pants. I personally, I'd go C. I'd put it C. Can you convince me to go? Can you convince and knock it up to a B?
Well, I mean, I'd stick it in a B. So I guess you're going to get C because it's got less people down there. But no. It can go in B. It can go in B
if you feel strongly that you'd go a high B, low A, maybe that the compromise would be a B.
I'll be honest. I don't care about it enough to really be that passionate about raising it to a B. I'd stick it in a B, but
the only thing I liked about it was they called the vehicle Dead Reckoning. That was the only thing I liked about it. But the rest of it, when they worked out how to roll an explosive barrel towards Dennis Hopper's car, wasn't it? Give over.
Yeah.
Give over. So. That was trash. I got irritated at that. I couldn't accept. It was just.
I'll tell you what. Actually, the one bit did annoy me is where they all kind of fall in the water, and one would assume that they've walked on the bottom of the river over to the other side, and then they one by one kind of emerge. I mean, there's an image. It looks pretty cool, but is it? Well, again, I'm getting into the bloody argument I said that we shouldn't get into. Is it realistic? It's a zombie film.
But okay, it's realistic for zombies is the term I'm basically putting in. Hashtag realistic for zombies. You can use number 4 if you want. You have an expectation of zombies. You have an expectation of how you believe zombies behave. You have an expectation of what your interpretation of zombie subculture is. And zombies using complex things like machine guns, pneumatic drills, working out how basically to make a bomb. They're not the A-team. And for me, that makes it trash.
Well, I don't know. Have you not seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Dead? They're pretty clever in that film. Okay, it's not zombies.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes were monkeys.
They use machine guns.
Yeah, but you could argue that monkeys evolved the mental capacity to understand things like we did. I'm not here to discuss evolution now, but
zombies are actually people. They've got a memory of shooting those things. It's like in Dawn of the Dead where they go to the shopping mall. It's because they've got a memory of having gone there during their life.
I'll accept an instinct, but I won't accept a functioning memory.
Well,
so
Anyway, like I say, I'm not passionate enough to argue the toss on that one, so I'm happy to leave it in C and we'll move on.
Well, let's stick with sequels here. This was a sequel here. Starred Robert Carlyle, and it's 28 weeks later. Again, I'd go A, personally speaking. But what do you think? They were apes, not monkeys, Liam. All right, Jim, they were apes. Yeah, they weren't Planet of the Monkeys. All right, fair enough. David Attenborough.
I seem to remember this one being all right, but I didn't enjoy it as much as 28 Days, so I'd stick it in B.
When is it as good?
I IMDb'd this one earlier, and actually Robert Carlyle wasn't the first name that came up. I don't know if it's because Jeremy Renner, obviously with his MCU, has become more famous since, but he was the first name that came up. It was him and Rose Byrne. I don't even remember them from it, if I'm honest. All I remember is Robert Carlyle.
Jeremy Renner is in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Was in 28 Weeks Later. Was it?
Allegedly so. According to IMDb, it's well trusted, that site.
Oh yeah. Well,
I've no
not
reason to
IMDb.
disbelieve them. He came up as the lead actor in it.
The lead. I don't even remember. Robert Carlyle. Sure, I remember him. He's the main character, isn't he?
I couldn't even tell you what happens in that film, mate, to be honest with you. I've only seen it once. I no real passion about wanting to see it again. Whereas 28 days later, I'd see it any day of the week. I think it's brilliant. I'm just not as passionate about that one.
Yeah, I don't think we could really justify. Arguing that case, I don't think you can really justify 28 weeks
Have
later.
they missed the boat for a trilogy capper?
One could argue
28 months later, 28 years later, whatever.
28 years later.
Well, it's going to be 28 years later at this rate, isn't it?
At this rate. Well, should we stick with sequels?
Go for it.
Zombieland 2.
Okay, well, like I said,
So
earlier,
Zombieland
it's a little
Double
bit of a
Tap.
spoiler alert. I think it's a very good film. I think the first one's better. So I would
say it's
suggest
a
we
safe
stick this
A.
one at A.
Okay.
I think it's just very funny still, and I like the way they didn't. What's her name? Breslin. I can't remember her first name. She was much younger in the first film, and I like the fact that they brought her back for the sequel, because a lot of young actors, obviously, when they then make the sequel, kind of belatedly, they choose someone that's a little bit better known or whatever. But I like the fact they brought her back. I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay.
It misses the Bill Murray quality.
Yeah. Well, that was my argument.
I
for it
can't
being
remember
S
if he was even in it at all. The sequel, I can't remember him being in it.
No.
Was there someone else?
I don't remember it. I mean, again, it's been a while since I've seen it, but
I think I might have seen it on an aeroplane. And sometimes your memory of the film is that it's better than it was when you watch it on an aeroplane because you're bored and anything entertains you. But I think it was pretty good.
Okay, you ready for another classic Liam curveball here, mate?
Oh, another Resident Evil sequel.
No, but it is utter trash in my opinion.
Go on then.
It's a my personal opinion is I don't like POV first-person camera with a camcorder ones. There was a zombie one, and it was called Diary of the Dead. Personally speaking, utter trash. Utter trash. Get out. Get in the bin.
I deliberately didn't suggest that one because for me,
it should be lower than
the George A. Romero films stop with Land of the Dead. There's a few after that, and they're just. I don't know. They're just all crap, in my opinion.
It's just awful. It doesn't make any sense. It's just an excuse to make a film, and I just thought it was horrendous.
I agree. I've got nothing else positive to say. I've got nothing positive to say about that.
We cannot put it lower. If I could put it lower, I would. But I remember watching it, and I'm like, what am I watching? What on earth is this? But
hopefully, though, from this, we've saved someone the pain of thinking, well, it's got his name attached to it. It must be decent. It's not. It's crap. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know me, I like a bit of balance. I'm going to go for one I think, which I would put quite high up, which is Rec 2.
Yes.
Rec 2, I'd put an A personally, but...
I haven't seen the fourth one. Apparently there's a fourth one. I totally missed that.
I've only seen the first two.
The third one takes place during a wedding. It's not quite as good. The first one's pretty good.
The first one's really good.
The second one, for me, is superb. I'd probably go as far to stick it up in the S's.
You're going to go S rank? Okay.
Yeah, I would. S for Spanish.
I mean, to be honest, this was the one that got rebranded as they got remade as Quarantine in the in English, wasn't it?
Did it? Bloody hell! Well, I don't think I've seen that.
So, I do like this one. I do like the second. I like the first two. I thought were absolutely fantastic. Again, I've totally contradicted myself because again I said from the whole first person ones, but it was clever. I thought it was quite cleverly shot. Whereas lots of first person ones. I'm even including Cloverfield, and I just get motion sickness watching it.
Cloverfield, blimey.
Yeah, but see what I mean by the whole. It's like from literally someone's perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
Blair Witch, kind of invented
Blair
that
Witch.
Thing,
yeah, exactly. Blair Witch. Again, it gave me motion sickness. It's the same way. I don't know why I'm bringing this up here, but that first-person sequence in the Doom film. That bit was just the worst bit of the film. But you can see why they did it because of the game. But we're not here to discuss that game. I think Rec 2. I would put it as an A. But yeah, no, you've argued the case for it to get knocked up to an S.
Yeah, I think it's worthy, mate. I think it's worthy.
Okay.
It's pretty gory as well, to be fair.
I'm gonna seek your opinion on this because I have not seen this one. Tell me about Overlord.
Oh, do you know what? I watched that recently. It was a film that again, this is going to make you laugh because, so for everyone else's benefit, I'm a total film reader. It's total film as opposed to Empire for me. I love it. I've read it since issue 1, and the way I basically start my arguments as to why a mate should watch a film is, total film gave it 4 out of 5, blah blah blah.
Don't.
What are you now going to say, Liam, when I say that?
Just don't. You said that. You have totally said that on purpose to trigger me. The reason for so to explain to everyone who's watching now, the absolute reason for my sudden found derision, Russ told me and Matty that Human Centipede is a good film because Total Film gave it 4 out of 5. And my God, I am not getting those 2 hours of my goddamn life back because you made me watch Human.
That's a 2 out of 5 film. It gets a 2. Human Centipede.
Human Centipede. Just if you haven't seen Human Centipede, just don't, because it's awful.
All I'm gonna say is you'd want to be at the front.
All I'm saying is, oh God's sake, mate. All I'm saying with Human Centipede, I would rather watch Zombie Strippers again. That's how bad Human Centipede is, in my opinion.
If I'm ever in Germany and I need medical assistance, I'm going to wait till I come home. I know it's not based in Germany. I'm pretty sure that the doctor was German. Yeah.
What? So you're now going to castigate all Germans on the basis of one badly made film?
No, right. It's just scarred me, though, mate. It's just scarred me.
We're digressing here. So tell me about Overlord.
Yeah, Human Centipede is not a zombie film.
Shut up about Human Centipede. So tell me about Overlord, buddy.
So, Overlord. Well, it starts off like a war film. Well, it is pretty much a war film as it starts. Right. It's set in during World War II, I believe, from memory, and it starts off with a pretty realistic plane crash. Right. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, this is awesome. I had no idea what the film was. Like I say, I read about Total Film raving about it, 4 out of 5. I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go, but I didn't know what it was about. And to be fair, it's one of those films where you're like, is it not a zombie film? Yes, it is. Let's call it a zombie film. And that only really comes relevant about halfway into the film from memory as well. But I can't really say any more than that, other than kind of Nazis, experiments, all that type of stuff. But it is gruesome and it is brilliant.
Where would you put it?
I would stick it in an A personally, possibly even an S, because I was just really pleasantly surprised about it. I'd be happy to settle with an A though, because you haven't seen it.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Have you seen Overlord? Let us know in the chat what you thought about it. If you think that we should raise it to an S, then fight its case.
Yeah.
Where do you think it should go?
Absolutely. Like I said, if the chat really turn on us, we can always revisit one of these. Well, because I can grab them. But you mentioned Germans. I think this is a Swedish film. Dead Snow.
Yeah.
Dead Snow. I was pleasantly. I literally had zero expectation of this film, and I actually really enjoyed this.
Well, it's important to note. It's Dead Snow 2, isn't it? That I think we.
Was it Dead Snow 2?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one I haven't seen then.
I can't remember the full title of it. I think it's Red versus Dead or something like that.
Okay. Well, I'll let you argue the case for it because I've only seen Dead Snow 1 and I really enjoyed that. So.
Well, yeah, I think this one's better than Dead Snow 1. I'd probably be tempted to put it in an S because I enjoyed it that much. I thought it was.
Well, I've seen Dead Snow 1 and I put that as an A. If you think it's better, then I think an S. S is appropriate.
Do it.
Okay. Well,
unless there's a delay, it's been slotted in B on my screen.
Yeah, because it's got a placeholder. I'll put it there because I don't want to keep pulling my mouse down. So yeah, no. Once I just
thought it was really funny and it's really gory as well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
and we do love our gore. Our
gore.
We do love our gore on Splatter Chatter. Hence the name, people.
Absolutely. So this is my last one of the evening of me curveballs. And you'll be pleased to know that you know exactly where I'm going with this. Resident Evil Retribution is trash. It's absolute pants. It is absolute pants. Again, I did throw a bit of Resident Evil in because I thought Matt.
Just hover it over where you put it.
I put it in D, straight up.
So
straight up.
It was hover it there. Yeah, just go lower a bit.
Lower a bit. What? We're just going to evict it completely out, are we? Yeah.
Just lower.
Just, right.
No, to be fair, it's better than Jenna Jameson's crap. So.
What? What you go? Yeah, but then the argument is, I'd sit there and go, "Is it the same as Extinction?"
I'm not saying I'd put it on C. I'm saying that Jenna shouldn't be on D. That's what. But
should we literally just bin Jenna Jameson off? Full stop. Then we've got to bin the other ones off because they are equally terrible in my opinion. So.
Yeah, so, okay. I'm one of those people, mate, that I don't give films 0, even if they're awful. They're a 1 out of 5, you know. So leave her there.
Okay.
You just want to avoid that level.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of was accepting that not all the Resident Evil films were good. Yeah, that one was pants. It really was pants.
Do you know what? They're remaking Resident Evil.
I've heard.
I think it's this year it comes out, actually.
I think you're look. If you're gonna watch a game come film, Mortal Kombat, mate.
Yeah, I'll get a lot again. You know, my gaming knowledge is not very good, but yeah,
I'm not going to talk about Mortal Kombat because obviously
it looks all right.
But right,
are there any zombies in that?
No, not as far as I'm aware. There's souls, just not zombies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking to you for this one because I've never seen this one. Tell me about Warm Bodies.
Okay. So Warm Bodies, I think, is probably around 8 years old now. It's got Nicholas Hoult in it, and I really like him as an actor. I think he's really good. He plays a zombie who kind of forms a bond with a girl that is still living, and I think that takes place in an abandoned airport.
What?
Yes, there's a bit of a romance type thing there. It's very quirky. It's very quirky, as you would imagine it to be. But there was just something about it that I thought, actually, this is quite interesting. I wouldn't say it's a very good film, but I wouldn't say it's a bad film. So it's kind of a 3 out of 5 film for me. It's something very different, and I like the fact that, let's face it, there's so many zombie films out there that actually you've got to try something a bit different. I'd stick it in a B, personally.
All right. Okay. And for final, we've got our final film now, and I saved it to last. George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Where do you see this one? Oh, Jim's off. He's off to eat. Great stream. Take care all. Thank you for coming, Jim. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you joining us, mate.
Enjoy your dinner. Day of the Dead. Talk to me.
So, okay. For me,
putting it in B just so I don't have to hold on to it the whole time.
That's all right, mate. Yeah. So for me, it's not as good as Dawn of the Dead. It's the third one. What stuck with me about this film is two things. First of all, you've got they basically capture a zombie that is kind of starting to learn, and that's what I started talking about when we talked about Land of the Dead. Mm-hmm. I think from memory, the zombie's called Bub or something like that.
Bub.
It listens to a Walkman.
What?
Yeah, but it's kind of cool. But the other thing about it that I really like is there's a scene where an army chap gets ripped in half by zombies, and it is really, really gross, and it is amazing. The special effects were really good. You literally see his guts getting ripped apart, and that stuck with me. And I thought, oh yeah, that is amazing. So yeah. For me, that is one of the best bits about Day of the Dead. If you YouTube Day of the Dead,
right,
gut scene after this, you won't be disappointed. It is fantastic. As a film and as a whole, yeah, I'd probably say it's on par with Night of the Living Dead, the original.
So that's a safe B, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. So Day of the Dead, well, we're leaving it as a B. Guys, that's the end of our tier list here. I mean, in the top rank here, what have we got? We've got the original Dawn of the Dead, we've got Shaun of the Dead, we've got the first Zombieland, Wreck 2, and Dead Snow 2. You know, going down into the A rank, which are just, you know, definitely worth watching. We've got 28 Days Later. We've got, what's that case? That's Brain Dead. Train to Busan, Zombieland, Double Tap, and Overlord. In sort of, yeah, worth a peek. Original Light of the Living Dead, Reanimator, World War Z. I personally still think that's too high. The first Resident Evil film, the remake.
Couple of ranks too low.
Yeah, The 2003 remake of Dawn of the Dead, 28 weeks later, Warm Bodies and Day of the Dead. In the I probably wouldn't bother wasting your time sort of category, which is the C rank, we got Resident Evil Extinction, Land of the Dead and Planet Terror, and the avoid at all costs, don't bother wasting your time, you'd be better off basically.
I wouldn't even name them, Liam. You're doing them.
Yeah, I'm giving them too much
advertising.
credence. I'm giving them far too much credence by even acknowledging their existence. So that is the trash tier. So, guys, thank you very much for checking out our sort of debate on zombie films here. If you've chosen to spend your time with us, thank you very much for choosing to come and hang out with us. We understand that, there's all the things you could sit there and watch this evening, or if you're watching this on a replay. Thank you for coming this far and choosing to find out what happened. We appreciate that. Russ, would you like to say anything else, buddy?
Yeah, no, thanks ever so much for joining us. Really hope you had a good time. We enjoyed it. Let us know in the chat if there is anything else that you think we missed that we should include in the future one. I'm always up for new recommendations on films as well. So let us know or tweet us and let us know at day66_movie or any of our personal ones. Regarding the film Day 66, just to close quickly, we are in post-production. Editing's ongoing. We got some Foley sound to record for it. We hope to get a BBFC certificate and promote the film on social media. That does cost money. If you have enjoyed this, if you are excited about the prospect of seeing Day 66, if you are in a position to, it's not a great time to crowdfund because of COVID and all this type of stuff, people getting furloughed. If you are in a position to chuck a couple of quid into the GoFundMe, it really is appreciated. If not, we still love having you with us. We still love having you follow us. You're still welcome. So please don't feel guilty about not doing that. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
As I'll close up here, thank you, Russ. Is all the links to the socials will be in the bio below, including the link that Russ just popped in the live chat. I will add that to the description at the bottom. And I think it just leaves us to say, well, thank you once again for choosing to spend your time with us. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll do you like this format that we are doing here? We're keen to get certainly people who were involved in the Day 66 movie, on some of these live streams where we can just have a little chat, just kind of hang out and just shoot the breeze, talking about all things zombie, all things horror, because while it is a zombie film, we're horror fans as well. We like horror films, we like horror games, we like horror, just the whole horror subcultures. So we would be keen to do this again. If you got any comments or what we could cover in the future, please feel free, pop it down in the comments. We'd love to have a chat with you. But I'm going to take this opportunity now to say thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, everyone, and have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Cheers, everyone.